All right, Lauren, you're here.
Hi.
You ready to roll?
Yes, I am.
I'm so excited to have you. When I think about resilience, I think about you. I think about you from a kid. I think about you as an athlete. I watched you grow your business, and I watched you as a mom. I've seen everything that you've been through, and bringing you on this podcast as the second guest of me rebranding it is a blessing to me. So we're going to get started with asking you to pinpoint your resilient journey and the parts of it that make you who you are today.
Well, first, I want to say thank you for having me. It is fun to be back in this chair, sitting across from you, getting asked these questions when we have pretty much a long history.
Very long.
Let's just start off with you coaching me.
Mm-hmm.
And I just remember all the times I was upset or mad on the field, and you were right there, always helping me, protecting me, just saying, come on, Lauren, you got to keep going.
Mm-hmm.
Who cares what coach says or who cares
Yeah.
this? Just keep playing your game, stay in the game, keep your head in the game. And those are things that kind of really got me through my final year as a senior in high school. So it's kind of cool to sit here and chat with you about that.
Mm-hmm.
So now we want to hear about my story as far as, entering college or...
Yeah, so like you went out to, oh my God, remind me.
Kent State
Kent
University.
State, yes.
So it's
which
interesting
was
because...
my rival.
Yes, Ball State. So
State.
it's interesting because if we think about even prior to that, the home life was unique, very limited resources, very humble beginnings. There wasn't much opportunity for me. I was not a good student for whatever reason. I think I struggled in school. I think I had maybe a learning disability. I couldn't stop talking, which now I get paid to talk a lot, so it actually worked out for me. I
Of
love
course.
to talk to those teachers. So I knew I needed something, and I did love the sport of field hockey, but I also had this little mischievous background. But I also always knew that, like, if I was paved the right way or had the right coaches and the right, what would the word be? The right role models to guide me, I'd get there.
Yeah.
So it took a little time, and then I'll never forget, we had a fantastic high school career. Played at Shore, which is the mecca of field hockey in this area. And I did, futures and all these different showcases for college. And I met a coach named Carrie, and Kent State coach, and she was talking to me, and she's like, do you want to come to an official visit? I'm like, what the heck is that? I had no idea. She's like, I'm going to fly you out. I'm like, you're going to fly me out. I think I've been on a plane one other time. So I'm like, this sounds fabulous,
Yeah.
And I remember that phone call. I think I fell asleep one day after school, and I remember her calling me to make this phone call, to make this date to official visit. And we talked on the phone, Carrie, for an hour and a half.
Yeah.
And we chatted. I was like, this woman likes me. Like, I really think this is an opportunity.
Yeah.
So I felt like the love, and I felt that the need for me was there. So I always had that in the back of my head. But still, I always had this I don't know, I really want to play D1 field hockey. That sounds crazy. But again, I knew I needed something to get me out of where I was, which wasn't great.
Yes.
Not great grades, leading down the wrong path, possibly, maybe party, having too much fun in high school. But I just always knew there was something better for me. So I go on this visit. It was fun. I loved it. And here I go. I get this scholarship. I saw my letter 10. I can't believe I have a Division I scholarship. I feel like it's a sport that I love. So now I'm heading the right way. I make a silly mistake my senior year in high school, and I decide to break my foot jumping out of a window. It's an important part of the story because then when I got to college, don't ever jump out of a window, okay? When I got to college, my foot was still broken. So then I was redshirted. So now here I come from a Jersey girl that was a little fresh with an attitude, comes from Shore Regional, which is, again, the mecca, the best, to Kent State in Ohio with girls that all were the best at their high schools, right? And I'm like, no, we were the best. Like, first of all, New Jersey is just the tiny state in the world. I mean, how great were we? But we were good. You got Pennsylvania. I mean, you got some big states there with some. Then we get the girls from Holland.
Yeah.
They've been playing field hockey since they were 2. I was nothing, right?
Yeah.
That's what I felt like.
That's what you felt
and
like.
I felt like I was nothing. And that was the start of it. And then now I'm redshirted because I broke my foot because I still wasn't healed. So now I'm sitting on the sidelines riding a bike while everyone's practicing and forming friendships and all having fun during preseason, which as fun as preseason can be. And I'm just getting more and more into myself. This is just awful.
Yeah.
But I also knew I had this opportunity and I wasn't going to lose it. So I kind of stuck it out. As I sticking it out, now they redshirted me, so now I'm never going to play in a game, so I don't travel. I only practice. So I'm allowed to practice here and there when my foot was healed. And before I knew it, it's December, right after finals, and my coach sits me down. And I was well aware of the fact that at this point, I've gained 30 to 40 pounds, okay? I was a fashion major. Don't ask me why, because I have no idea why I would ever be a fashion major. So I'm a fashion major, right? It's an important part of the story, because I ended up obviously not doing fashion. I'm a fashion major that's 40 to 50 pounds overweight. I have a 1.5. A 1.5. And she's like, Lauren, you gotta go. I'm like, what do you mean I gotta go? She's like, you cannot maintain this life. You're fresh. Your grades aren't great. You gained a lot of weight. You clearly don't depict what a D1 athlete should be. Your scholarship is going to be taken away if you don't. Go home and decide what you want. And I'm like, oh, come on. Like, I was like, no way. I couldn't believe it. Because for a long time, I feel like I kind of like got away a little bit with things, like, oh, I'm an athlete, I'm a granted, and I'm this, I'm fine. And then when I was out of that life and I was somewhere else, I was a nobody, and I was alone. A lot of the weight gain, just so you know, a lot of the weight gain and a lot of that comes from, I was homesick. I had a boyfriend. I wanted to be home. There were so many things. School was hard, and I didn't reach out for any help. Say that, not any help, none at all. I thought I could figure this all out. Okay, so until I guess I came to realization I could not. When my coach was like, "Go home, Christmas break, decide what you want." Okay, and then from that point on, whatever you want, we'll make it. You don't have to stay. We want you here, but we can't do this. It's not gonna work out. Go home for Christmas break. Completely realize that is not what I want. I want this opportunity. I want to do it. I just didn't know really how to. So home for 30 days, the normal thing at Christmas break. That life wasn't what I wanted. I knew I had a great opportunity. I wasn't going to miss this. So I came back and I was like, Coach, I want to be here. And then when I started realizing that, Lauren, drop the Jersey attitude. Smile a little more. Stop saying can't. Stop being so freaking defensive. Okay? When your coach tells you that you went left when you were supposed to go right, don't roll your eyes. Look at her and say, okay. And, that took me a long time. By the way, that whole spring season I came back, every time I said the word can't, run. Every time I rolled my eyes, run.
Amazing.
I mean, I had teammates of mine that got in trouble for some real things that happened in college. Like real, like not great, like illegal things. And I was the one next to them running because of my attitude. Yeah. And like by the end of the spring, I got most improved attitude. Me. The most positive person ever. Yeah. But what's so interesting is that it was like, I feel like innately I was always positive. I just needed someone to believe in me. And her sitting me down saying, you gotta go, right? So giving me that, like, this ain't gonna work, but we love you, we want you here. And seeing that I was a diamond in a rough, made me feel like, oh, someone believed in me. So that pretty much transformed my entire college career as far as the next 5 years. It was funny because I did struggle in school, and I remember changing my major. So back to my major. So I'm a fashion major. The art history was enough for me to run. I mean, I didn't understand. I mean, it was hysterical. Fashion. What the heck? I can't say. If you're going to be a fashion major, go to FIT. Don't be in the middle of but it is a good fashion program. I'm not going to say anything. But still. So I was sitting with my counselor. She's like, Lauren, what do you want to do? I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, what major do I not need in math? Because I am awful at math. Awful. Like, I couldn't even pass basic math. And it's fine because I don't need algebra today. So I can tell the story. She's like, human movement studies. I'm like, is that like extra science? But now she's like, yes. Done. I had to just do a language. Sign language. That's all I had to do. Like, I was just like, what do I need out of math? And that was it. Yeah. So I ended up graduating with the human movement studies. Perfect. I will say, and the saddest part about this GPA is, okay, I don't care how hard I worked. It is so hard to move up a 1.5. Like, I don't know what, I don't call it bragging, but it is my story. I never got it. I got a 2.9. That's what I graduated with. I had 4.0s in class. It didn't matter. Yeah. So it's so interesting. Like, and now having a 16-year-old son who's like really obsessed with GPA, I was like, what does it matter then? And I totally get it. Yeah. So I struggled so much. It didn't matter how hard I worked. That moment, right? That really rough moment, those 5 months of my life, really was a determining factor, like my GPA. I mean, thankfully I own my own business now, so I wasn't going for a job that needed a 3.5, thank God. Not that I would anyway.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm grateful for where my life is now, but it's interesting that never pulled through that GPA. It's crazy, right?
Yeah.
But it is cool to tell you that I was told I was never going to go to college, one. I was told I was never not only going to go to college, I was never going to play D1 sport.
Mm-hmm.
And I graduated, first one in generations of my family to be not only graduate college, is also played a Division I sport. So, I mean, that in itself to me seemed like one of the biggest feats for someone who was told not happening. Not with this attitude, you know?
Yeah. But I think the process of the GPA, of building it up is what's most important, because that taught you that anything was possible.
Right.
So you went in to college with an attitude that this is the way my life is going to be. I'm going to be this West Long Branch kid from this family, and this is what I'm destined for. And you decided that that's not what you wanted in your life. And somebody said, we'll take you in and we'll make it better for you.
Right.
And they made it better for you. And you adjusted.
I adjusted.
So that journey right there defined everything that's happened in your life.
And
I have known you since a little girl to know that you saw opportunity. And even though your self-limiting belief was, I'm going to be like everybody else, you got through that because of people that care.
Like, I remember like someone saying like, you know, why don't you, even like as far as like studying, I would sit there and I'd be like, how can I study better? Like, what can I do to study? Clean my room. Like, clean your room. So I'd organize my whole room and then I would sit and study for hours. Like, I found so many strategies. Like, that's, I mean, maybe to this day, it's not, I don't know. I think it's good. Like, even in my home life. And and if everything is pretty much organized, I got it going on.
You do.
You know, it's just, and when there's a little chaos, and maybe that could be tough too, I can freak out a little bit, but I know it's in my control.
Yes.
All right, Lauren.
Yes.
Get it together. Over there, it's a little bit of a mess. People might think that's a little crazy. Doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't matter.
Fix that shelf, and now go sit down and do your work.
Yes.
That's kind of how there's certain things I had to do, you know, and then I would, you know, I was the only, and I'll brag about, again, I don't know if you call this bragging, but I was the only fifth-year senior still in study tables because I never got it through. Yo, man, do you know what that was like, walking those doors?
Oh, yeah.
One freshman? Yep, that was me.
Yeah.
But whatever, that's what I needed, and that's okay.
Yeah.
You know, and it's something that I had to, like, hold my shoulders back. Like, sorry, that's not what I wasn't blessed with maybe that type of brain. I had to work a little harder.
Yeah, that's okay.
And that's okay.
That's okay.
So those are things I had to accept myself. I don't have to be that person. I'm me, and I got to run with who I am. And that was really important for me.
Yeah, and that's a great lesson for women and for your clients.
Right.
So which leads us into now you come home, you get into the fitness industry, and then you take a leap of faith. And you take a leap of faith to start your own business. And walk me through just tying the connection of getting through what you did in college for that to teach you that anything was possible. And now you've opened up your own business. You started with one client and now you own your own studio and you're growing tremendously.
Well, it's interesting because I find that anything that happened good in my life was because someone did something to tell me I couldn't or upset me. And the business started because I was at that point driving to people's homes. And I remember my second one was like 6 months old, and I was leaving at 5 o'clock at night to train for very little amount of money, driving 30 minutes away. It was like this whole thing, and my husband would come home and be like, you really have to leave, and the baby would be crying, they got the fire. It was just like a lot of chaos. And I remember saying, I'm not doing this anymore, I'm going to charge them more money. I got to work, I'm going to charge more money. And I remember presenting them this group of clients, like, listen, I can't work for, it was like $10. I can't go to 30 minutes for $10 an hour anymore. Yeah. I always kind of shortcut myself because I really wanted the business. I wanted to hustle. So I always kind of wanted that, like, I wanted the money. So, you know. Yeah. And I remember the client saying to me, mind you, what upset me was that there was a client that probably could pay a little more money. Not that I was taking advantage, but could be. Definitely was taking advantage of me. And she's like, you know, we train with you because you're cheap.
Oh, wow.
And I went home, and I remember crying, saying, "This is like I love this." And people keep telling me, "Lauren, you can't be consistent in personal training. It's impossible. It's too hard. It's too hard to keep clients. It's keep me happy, blah blah." I'm like, but I'm not doing this. This is what I love. I love fitness, and I love changing people's lives. I do. There's nothing better in the whole world than I always say my job. And My husband's like, well, why don't you just like start your own business or something? Or we kind of talked about that. I played around with that. I'm like, well, I'm not training them anymore. And we got to figure this out. And in that time, I was training brides a little bit. And I still was going to people's houses. And someone mentioned about buff brides. I'm like, let's start buff brides. And during that same time, a friend of mine who owns a bridal store said, Lauren, next month there's a big Red Bank wedding walk shop. And do you want to be a vendor in our store? Now, at this time, 1 month away, I had no website. I didn't have any logo, nothing. Okay? In 1 month, I got flyers made. I got a website done. I got professional pictures done. I was all set, and I was there that day of the wedding walk with 100 girls that signed up. Not necessarily trained with, but 100 girls that I got names for that day in 1 month.
Yeah.
And that kind of just kept going. And from there, I started working. At that time, we renovated our home, so I had a little studio in my house.
Yeah.
And that's when I started training people at my house because I was sick of driving to people's homes. So that's kind of how that started.
Yeah. And then the next step was to get out of your house, go into the studio.
Yeah, so I was 5 years out of my house, started off with 10 clients a week.
Yeah.
And then I was up to probably 50.
Yeah.
I think my husband was like, all right, it's enough ladies coming in and out. He's like, I can't hear another, because it was like on our main floor. A story about someone's husband. Like, it got like a little annoying. Mikey's crying, doesn't want to go to bed. Charlie's yelling. Like, it was like a lot of little chaos.
Yeah.
So I took a leap of faith and I got a studio. But
that's awesome.
I feel like I did it the right way.
Yeah.
It was a smaller studio.
Yeah.
That was an interesting 3 years because I don't know. This is really another thing that really spearheaded my leveled me up as far as business. I never had a studio, never leased a place. I never read a lease. You know, this is easy. I signed a lease. Let's go. I have a place. You know, until I realized parking's a situation. And I realized signage outside of your studio's an issue. Everything you have tenants next to you. Yeah, that's an issue. I didn't know this stuff. Yeah. My landlord wasn't kind at all. Yeah. Okay. And I thank God she wasn't very kind, because I think if it wasn't for her, I would never be able to read a lease. I would never know about business. And I feel like when I went and got this place I'm in right now, I can read I didn't even need a lawyer. I can read everything. I know parking spots I need. I count them. Like, I felt like that was no one knew at the time when I was 3 years I was in there, because it was also during COVID, that I had a really tough time. Yeah. I think that's a good and bad quality of mine, is that I still can train you, be happy. And I was struggling a lot inside with a lot of stuff. Yeah. But if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be where I am today. And people say to me, Lauren, you look like everything. Yeah, my life is great, by the way. But like, I dealt with some stuff already. Yeah. Like, if I'm not wake up grateful today for walking the studio with the landlord, it's amazing, and the business is booming, and everything's great. My kids are older now. Everything is easier now. Yeah. If I'm not grateful, I mean, I dealt with like a tough time when I started my business. When I started, it was not easy. Sure. So I feel super positive, even more than ever, because I've overcame so many obstacles in this business.
I mean, those are 3 amazing stories of adversity that that fueled you. And another thing we talked about earlier in the podcast with another guest was, people look at the success that you're experiencing right now, and they don't know how hard it was to get you there. And they're like, success is so easy. Like, look, she loves her job. Hey.
People said last night,
my job fuels me to get here, because I went through hell and back to get here.
Someone said a comment last night, like, looks like, I love my job.
Yeah.
I do. I am. Who doesn't like their job?
Yeah.
But like, I actually tell people, you have no idea. You didn't see me 5, 6, 7 years ago driving all the state of New Jersey, going from Spring Lake to Rumson, charging $30.
Absolutely.
All the things that you did just to make money, to hustle. Yeah. Or all the wedding shows. I used to sit at wedding shows.
I know.
And these girls would be like, what? Like, they would be like, what is this? And then I didn't have a studio. Yeah. I mean, people come to my home. Yeah. So that was even weirder. Yeah. Where's your studio at? Oh, it's in my house. So that was hard to overcome. Yeah. Even to get business. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So we've covered the athletics adversity. We've covered business, and you've given some great nuggets of information. So now you're a mom. You're a mom to 2 amazing boys and a wife, to an amazing husband. Yep. And I think sharing now everything how does that change you as a mom and dealing with your boys' athletic journey?
So both my boys play a lot of. We love sports. We're
Mhm.
diehard sports fans. Sports. I love what sports did for me.
Yeah.
So I definitely it shines through. My husband also is a former D1 athlete. Both of us love it. I'm also realistic with my children. My kids are pretty athletic, so so our journey is a little easier.
Yeah.
Right. Sometimes my issue now is my reasoning for going where I am was because of my background and my past, and I needed to get out. The hard thing I have now is my son is we'll talk about my older one. It's a great life, and I feel like his push and hustle is different than mine was, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I find that's really hard because the idea is you want to give your kids everything, right?
Yeah.
More than I had, but then you want to be like. Your home is so comfy and cozy. Why would you want to go anywhere else? Right. So it's trying to teach your kids that his reasoning for playing sports could be different than maybe mine was. So that I feel that makes sense. I find that hard.
Yes.
You know? Like their hustle's different.
Their hustle's different.
I want to get out of where I was, and he's like, I mean, I'm pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, pretty good.
So it's like taking the motivation behind it. His why is very different. His why is self-inflicted into saying, this is how I was raised. Yeah. Mom and dad set a standard for me. Correct. I'm going to live up to that standard, and I want to be the best I can be because I am loved, cared for.
Correct. So then this is where it gets the problem. So then you have moments of like, I don't want to play. What do you mean you don't want to play? Why not? Like, what do you mean? And I'm thinking like, and in my brain, I'm thinking, you got nothing else, dude. It's all I had. You're doing this. Like, you have to.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't really have to. He's really smart.
Yeah.
He goes to a great high school. He doesn't really have to. But he's athletic, and he has all the gifts God gave you.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah.
What a waste. You know, what a waste. In my head. No, my point to you is like, you look at him, and you're like, if you didn't continue in athletics, in your mind, you're like, come on.
Yeah.
So you don't want to push him too much, right?
Yeah.
You got to find the fine line.
Mm-hmm.
So there's certain things that I did. There was a moment. I like to talk about this a lot because we talk about burnout as athletes, and I always joke around like, was LeBron James burned out? No, right?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
And, singing something? No. Michael Jordan? No.
Yeah.
It's like they played forever. Why didn't it make a difference for them per se? So I remember him saying, I don't know if I want to play soccer anymore in 7th grade.
Mm-hmm.
And then he played soccer and basketball, 2 main sports he was going to play in high school.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you're playing 2 sports. But I don't want to anymore. And I remember that being like, well, you have to give me a good reason why.
Yeah.
Well, Johnny isn't faster than me now. And this one kicks.
Okay.
Charlie.
Yeah.
So you're not the best anymore.
There's
so
the lesson.
You got to work a little harder.
Mm-hmm.
And they did it. And then we were laughing because the other thing is he plays violin. So then I don't know if this is the other motivation. I'm like, if you don't play 2 sports, you're going to play the violin till your fingers bleed. Otherwise, like you're going to do something. You're doing multiple things in just one sport, right?
Yeah.
Other things. So he ended up, anyway, sticking to soccer.
Yeah.
And now it's so cool. Like I pushed him a little bit and he wasn't happy. He got faster. He got stronger.
Yeah.
We did all the things you need to do to make him. And now to watch him just wrap up his sophomore year has such an incredible, I'm like, maybe there's opportunity to play soccer in a higher level. Like, so to see him overcome that moment of maybe it was his friends weren't doing it or he got 7th grade, all the things that could happen in 7th grade in your brain. It wasn't interesting anymore. Yeah. So to see him overcome that and then just like have like a great sophomore year and it all worked out was such a good feeling. Now, I don't know if that's always going to happen, but I could have been like, you're right, soccer.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, you're good. And your reasoning isn't good enough for me.
Yeah.
It's not good enough.
Yeah. Well, as an outsider looking in, like meeting Charlie from when he was little and then now, he has tangibles that a lot of kids don't have. First of all, he has eye contact.
Right.
He's very respectful.
Right.
Which is amazing.
Right.
He's a hard worker and very humble.
Right.
I've
very
seen
humble,
him play, very humble.
Yeah.
And so if you're worried about like what the next step will look like, the bottom line is you've raised an pretty incredible human.
Thank you.
Yeah. So that anxiety as a parent, which a lot of parents go through, is you got to just sit back and say, all right, we've raised this kid to be this way. And if he takes it to the next level, that's awesome.
Right.
But he plays the violin. He's really smart. He takes his grades seriously. He's in an awesome high school.
And it's funny about the eye contact thing. I remember when he was little, someone said to me, like, why do you want your kid, your kid's not going to be outgoing like you, Lauren. Like, not everyone's outgoing. I'm like, first of all, he doesn't have to be outgoing. You're in the store and I see Ange Charlie, you're going to look up. You're going to say hi.
Yeah.
Charlie, nobody wants to talk to you that long. Don't worry.
Yeah.
You ain't going to ask a 5-year-old, just hi.
Yeah.
So those are things I just had to teach.
Yes.
And then you can go back and look at the Cheerios.
Those are what you can control.
That's what I can control. The head down, I'm not into it. No one's going to ask you any more questions than, hi, Charlie, how are you? Good, how are you? And it's such a good feeling because I think I was doing that to him up to like a year ago. And I'd be like, I'm just giving you an example. Like, Andrew's over there. Make sure you say hi to her when you see her. He's like, Mom, I know to say hi. How are you? I'm like, yes. And he does. And it's cool to stand back behind my tall son and watch him do those little things.
Yes.
That they're like that will get you so manners will get you so far.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I say like that's really why I got far in life.
Yeah,
is being polite and kind, and I think
using
people
your personality.
Knew that. Yeah, I was never really a jerk. I was just a little wild. I think people saw the good.
Yeah, they did see the good.
Yeah. So
awesome. All right, so we're gonna end with what is your biggest piece of advice for? I would say wrap it up into what you would say to athlete, business owners, and moms about how adversity can just fuel your drive.
Oh God. I think I go for a gratitude, a life of gratitude.
Yes.
We really have a good life. I mean, I spend a lot of time with clients. I'm listening to people. Like, just think about it. Like, we're really like you're coming into the gym, working out. Like, be full of gratitude. Like, we're so lucky. You're healthy.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really just how I live my life.
100%.
So positive. Like, it could be so much worse. And there is some unfortunate things that happen to people in life. I get that.
Yeah.
But I feel like gratitude is huge.
That's huge. Yeah.
A lesson to be grateful.
Yeah. Definitely.
There's always something to be grateful for.
There really is. Yeah, love that. And athletes need to learn that. And business owners, I mean, as hard as the struggle is, you're doing what you love.
Like you always say, I always joke around, like someone's always prettier, faster, stronger, better, smarter. All right, that's the way my whole life has been like that. People had kids, I had fads. People had Uggs, I had fun. Like, it's just the way life is.
Yeah.
It doesn't define you. Just be grateful for what you have because you're lucky you have something. You have family, you have love, you have support. Just be grateful.
Exactly.
There's always something to be happy about.
Awesome. I love it.
Yeah.
I love your energy. I love what you've done with your life. And I love the light you bring to people's lives.
Thank you.
Yeah. And being part of my journey through this whole process of getting me the buffest bride ever, because I was definitely the best one out there. And then now always reconnecting and always being there to pick each other up and laughing. I love our journey.
Yes.
Let's continue it.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lou. You're the best.